Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Alpha, the show where we talk about the latest, hottest topics in the world of pop culture and sports. I am your host, Jayden, and today I got a great show for you guys. As detailed in the previous podcast, I have started dividing these podcasts up into two separate, distinct categories. You got the sports and you got the pop culture, okay? I wanted to just see something, change something up, mix them together. Instead of mixing them together, we're just going to have them in distinctive niches, okay? But before we get into all that, make sure you guys are up to date with my channel by hitting the subscribe button and tapping that notification bell to get notified when all of my videos go live, as well as liking this podcast video and following the Alpha Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, strap in those seat belts and enjoy the fun for today's episode. Grab your popcorn and drink, and let's get to it. What we are going to be talking about, I got 3 topics for you guys, short and sweet. All are pertaining to the Marvel Universe. I contemplated about really talking about Superman again, but I really went into enough detail that I wanted to get into specifically regarding the backlash with the trailer and things of that nature. So I decided to put that on the back burner. But I got a couple of topics that we are going to talk about today that I have wanted to discuss in the past. In the last couple of days, I've had a lot going on. I recently just celebrated a birthday, my 21st birthday. So I've had a lot going on, school and things of that nature, some events and things. But I'm finally going to be able to talk about it because it's something that happened 2 weeks ago, that released 2 weeks ago. But this is something that was recent. I think it was released on Monday. Today is Wednesday as I'm making this video. We got our very first look at Galactus, the Mr. Devourer of Worlds, one of the most iconic villains in the Marvel IP and Marvel Comics. And he is going to be the main antagonist for Fantastic Four, The First Steps. So I'm going to put it right here up on the screen for you guys as we look, gleam, and react together. We got what many of us deem as comic accuracy. Yes, I said it. We got comic accuracy. This is obviously a step in the right direction from what we got in the past iteration of the Fantastic Four. Yes, I am talking about the second movie of the original 2 starring Chris Evans. So this was the right decision to make. We had, and already knew the general consensus was that this was going to be a human version of Galactus, given the last teaser, the last trailer that they released, we were able to see Galactus's footsteps. I'm going to talk about in detail what I think about the villain and how he's going to construct into the story of the movie. But first, let's just get in detail of what I like and dislike about the look. Obviously, what I do like, comic accuracy. The helmet, the eyes look very scary. They look good. The headpiece / helmet, obviously the same thing, but the armor, I like the little chest piece that he's got. I don't know. It looks something like it could be I just don't know if that's some type of ancient markings or whatever that's on the chest piece, but I like it. It looks great. It's given galactic space creature markings. Like basically the type of markings we found in the Superman suit in Man of Steel, the markings, the alien markings on the inside of the suit. That's what it's reminding me of. So great touch by whoever done the VFX work for the costume design. And the only thing that I can say that I dislike, but it's not a major dislike, something's just off to me about the face. I just don't know if it's something they did with the skin. Just something is off with the face. I don't know if it's just the way it's modeled right now. I imagine we are going to get a cleaner look in the movie This looks like a drawing of some sort, but um I'm not feeling the skin and the facial textures that they have going on for the specifically for the face. Um but that's just minor. I don't wholeheartedly dislike it to the soul. It doesn't bother me. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just putting my critic hat on as just a critique of like, oh, okay. Not a big fan of that, but I'm looking at it like, oh well, it's not that big of a deal. He still looks cool. He looks menacing. He looks like what we think Galactus would look like in a big budget blockbuster, upcoming blockbuster, hopefully, such as the Fantastic Four, the first steps. Now let's discuss what is his impact going to be in the movie. It's hard to really structure a story around Galactus if was just a standalone film. But given that we know after the post-credit scene in the Thunderbolts that the Fantastic Four is going to be showing up in a new world, I think in this movie, Galactus is going to destroy their world. And I don't think they're going to be able to save it. I think that might be the final conclusion in that film. And there may be a scenario, possibly, that we may see more of Galactus in the future. You want to be able to do Galactus. I think they want to do Galactus again to do his character justice. We like I said earlier with they did the cloud thing. Was horrible. Don't understand why they did it. So we can get an idea. I don't know. I know Norn Rad. I don't know the female Silver Surfer by name. She is under the influence of Galactus, obviously. Same type of role that was in the second Fantastic Four film. So that is Galactus's alias. And she is going to, as we saw in the trailer, that she warned the Fantastic Four that their world is doomed to die. And I truly do think that Galactus is going to kill that world. My theory. And are going to time travel into the MCU. I'm going to be very interested to see like how big he actually is going to be on screen in comparison to everybody else. In what way, form, or fashion does the Fantastic Four even try to take him down? I know y'all guys, I can tell y'all I'm not a comic expert. I've never read a Fantastic Four comic in my life. I do own a couple, but I've never read any of them. The originals by Jack Kirby. I have no idea of how in the comics Galactus has ever been defeated by any sort way or fashion. You can really think, given someone of Galactus's stature and the way his character is created, like how in the world could Fantastic Four even get close to beating somebody like that? But obviously, given the creative minds of all these writers who's written a Fantastic Four comic, I imagine there has been multiple ways that Galactus has been defeated. Given that Reed Richards is the smartest character in the Marvel IP in Marvel Comics, or one of the, if you put him up against Tony Stark and some others, there has been a way that he's probably more than likely been defeated. Is that necessarily going to happen in this movie? I don't think so, as I stated. But this is just good marketing, letting people know, giving people an idea of what Galactus will look like since we haven't got a full-on look at him in the movie outside of the latest teaser trailer and the very first trailer where we actually got a headshot of him. Now that I'm remembering that, I actually forgot about that there for a minute. But still, y'all, this film for me, I don't know if it's just because I'm biased with Superman. Mind you, I love Fantastic Four probably just as much, but something about me is just more interested to see Superman for so many factors. Something new, something fresh, could possibly start a great universe like it did for Marvel. It's just I'm not excited for this film after I saw Thunderbolts because I talked about it in my review that I have not posted while I'm making this podcast. This Fantastic Four film has to be great. Because there's not another film leading into Avengers Doomsday after Fantastic Four. If this film's not good, because I know I did not enjoy Thunderbolts at all, no way, form, or fashion. So the last Marvel entry that I have enjoyed was Deadpool and Wolverine, and it is starring and Deadpool and Wolverine is full of characters that is supposed to not be in Avengers Doomsday. How are you going to get people ready to see Avengers Doomsday? And I posted it on Twitter. Avengers Doomsday is going to be one of the least hyped Avengers movies that is going to be made. More least hyped than Avengers Ultron. Because what are people looking forward to? It's not really leading up to anything. I know a lot of this has to do with behind the scenes things when it comes to the stuff that happened with Jonathan Majors. They were revolving this thing around Kang to begin with, and they had to quickly course correct. But still, Avengers Doomsday has nothing leading up to it. And I don't want to there is no hype leading up to Avengers Doomsday. But I don't want to get too far off course. We're going to actually talk about that more later on in the podcast. But specifically for the design, it looks good. It looks great. If I did have one gripe, it's the face for me. But still, Galactus looks good. We finally got a live action version of him. And my theory is, in Fantastic Four First Steps, he is actually going to destroy the world that the Fantastic Four is currently in. And the Fantastic Four is going to be time traveling into another world. What all do you guys think about my comments? Do you guys like the design of Galactus? What do you think Galactus's role is going to be in Fantastic Four? I want to know all of your comments down below. Now, let's move on to our next topic. There was a recent article that came out when Thunderbolts released. And it gave us some behind the scenes details of what's been going on at Disney and Marvel. It was an article written by the Wall Street Journal. I didn't get to read it because you had to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal to be able to read the entry. But it went into detail what's been going on at Disney Marvel. And the way I was looking at it, it was more on the line of trying to make excuses for the reason why Marvel hasn't been as successful as they were in the past. I tried to go do some research from past tweets and things of that nature and getting some facts and details that we are going to talk about today. Kevin Feige stated that Marvel projects begin to feel more like homework than entertainment. This is something that a lot of people have been complaining about. You really couldn't watch Captain America Brave New World without watching the Captain America TV show. I cannot even remember what the name of that TV show was. Let me think. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you didn't watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the first Hulk movie, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that should be it. You had no idea what was going on with that movie if you wouldn't have watched it. You could say the same thing for Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness. You didn't know what was going on unless you watched WandaVision. I'm sitting as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking of some more shows. I want to say that's inevitably it. Oh, time. Hold on. Deadpool and Wolverine with the TVA. You really wouldn't have known what went on unless you watched Loki. That, for me, was always a problem. And I know this had a lot to do with Bob Iger and Disney for wanting to push content on their streaming platform. And I think they said in the article, which I believe it to a certain degree, Kevin Feige wasn't on board with it at first, but he had no choice to because Iger and the boys at Disney wanted to push some content out onto the Marvel platform. I remember back in 2020 and 2021 when Disney Plus became a thing and the very first Disney Plus show was announced. I cannot remember. What was the first Disney Plus show? Was it... I want to say it was WandaVision, or it was something before WandaVision. I cannot quite remember. But I knew this was inevitably going to be a problem, and a lot of people were going to run into this problem. You had to watch the TV shows in order to know what was happening in the movies. And I always argued that the big Marvel projects, big Marvel characters such as people like Wanda and all them, Hawkeye, they should have never been in TV shows at all. Your A-list characters need to be in big budget films. The TV shows were appropriate for characters like She-Hulk or Ironheart, Agatha Harkness. That's appropriate. But when you got characters like the WandaVisions and Loki and all that, even Falcon and the Winter Soldier, those guys need to be in a film. So, stating that projects begin to feel like homework more than entertainment is true. But it's only a minority of the problem that's been going on with Marvel. We all know the problem. They're too worried about setting agendas, and I know I'm beating a dead horse, but it's totally true because we are talking about the topic, and I have to say what's really true. They were more worried about checking off boxes, not worried about telling the story in an accurate representation in a way that would interest the fans, but instead they fed into what the actor wanted and what Disney possibly wanted. Another aspect of this, Feige was overworked essentially to make Disney Plus shows. I had this part written down and we just talked about it. Obviously, Kevin Feige was under pressure by Bob Iger to push out Disney Plus TV shows. Again, I would probably more than likely say I would have rather seen like possibly animations, like the what was it called, What If series and things of that nature. I would be more inclined to rather seeing that than like the WandaVisions and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and things of that nature. And that is essentially what was going on. And then obviously they pointed out in the article as well that there was situations where Kevin Feige was so busy that workers for TV shows had to follow him down a hallway or whatever to try and get his feedback on things. And sometimes Kevin Feige couldn't give that feedback in time before something was produced. So this essentially is an article that is trying to alleviate some of the pressure off of Kevin Feige and taking some pressure off of Kevin Feige and possibly putting the blame on Bob Iger and Disney for like, oh, Kevin Feige's not the reason why Marvel is as terrible as it is right now. It's Bob Iger's fault and Disney. Instead, they're pushing, and we're going to talk about it here, the quantity over the quality. It's true to a certain degree, but again, and this led to another. See, everything is leading into everything the more I talk about this. And the quality over quantity thing led into something that a lot of people have been talking about as well, which is Marvel fatigue or superhero fatigue, which is not true at all in no way, form, or aspect. If somebody even thinks about bringing up superhero fatigue to you, tell them, get the frig away from me with that garbage take. You know what we're fatigued of? Garbage storytelling, the pushing of D-list characters, and politics. We know there's a lot going on in the movie industry right now with this idea that movies are dead, superhero fatigue, and things of that nature. If superhero fatigue was really real, why was Deadpool and Wolverine so successful? I'm not wanting to know because we're going to talk about it later on as well. Like I just said, the Thunderbolts. Something that Bob Iger said was an example of their shift from quality instead of quantity. But guess what, Bob? The Thunderbolts is still a flop. Not a major flop in comparison to the Falcon and the not the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Then Captain America: Brave New World. I imagine. I think there still is. I think Thunderbolts is going to end up doing better than what Captain America did, box office wise and production budget wise. But still, the Thunderbolts didn't do good. And there and something else that the MCU has a problem with right now, and it's something that I saw while watching the Thunderbolts. The MCU feels lost. I feel like the MCU has lost its identity. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that the heavy hitters are not part of the universe. Because when I was watching the Thunderbolts, I was sitting there like, am I watching a Marvel movie? That's just how just lost I feel the MCU is. And I know a lot of people has been critiquing Marvel for having that same formula, not having a lot, trying something new. And a lot of people did give the Thunderbolts credit for that, and that's why a lot of people liked the movie because it hit on mental health and things of that nature. But still, this article was essentially trying to highlight and give an excuse for the reason why Marvel is struggling the way they are. Taking the pain away from, taking all of the blame away from Kevin Feige, putting it on Disney. So it sounds like to me, business partners are not seeing eye to eye. Bob Iger and Kevin Feige are not seeing eye to eye. But Kevin Feige can be left off the hook here. Okay. At the end of the day, he's in these production meetings. He's the one who greenlights most of these projects. I don't care about the TV shows. I will give Kevin Feige a pass for that. But I'm not giving Kevin Feige a pass for the films. Because Kevin Feige has not produced but one good film that has made a good amount of money. And that is Deadpool and Wolverine. Because those are the only A-list characters that have been in a film since post-Endgame. I liked Shang-Chi, but he is a B-list character. Doctor Strange was a film that didn't do as well either because it wasn't a great story. Miss Captain Marvel movie, we all know why that didn't do well. You just had the Thunderbolts. You had Captain America: Brave New World. I really have come to this conclusion with Marvel, and we just talked about it in the previous topic. If Fantastic Four is not good, given I wouldn't necessarily classify Fantastic Four is obviously more A-list than what they could be deemed in the A-list category. But if this movie does not do well for Marvel in talking about Fantastic Four, the MCU should probably be over with. It's a sad conversation to have, but the MCU as we know it needs to be rebooted and bring back the Captain Americas, the Iron Mans, and start a new story, start a new universe. Because with Fantastic Four not doing well, what are we going to account for with Doomsday? Doomsday is more than likely going to be filled with nothing but nostalgia. They're bringing back the old X-Men, in which we're going to talk about that more in detail later, but they're just bringing back all these old characters from older movies. It's going to be another cash grab like Deadpool and Wolverine. It's a movie that is made, but it's not leading up to anything in the MCU like the previous MCU did. The MCU done a phenomenal job in phase 1, 2, and 3 leading up to Thanos. I can argue before the stuff went on with Jonathan Majors, Marvel did not do a good job leading up to the villain Kang. Because guess what? We had to start doing homework. You had to watch Loki to even know what was going on with Kang. Ant-Man and the Wasp. You had to watch Loki before you even watched Ant-Man and the Wasp to know what was going on with Kang. This article itself is epitome, however you want to say it, of the continued discourse and problems that is going on with Marvel. They're not seeing eye to eye. They're not focused on the overall issue that audiences have with the MCU. What audiences are having a problem with right now in the MCU is the fact there are no characters that are in the universe that you can grasp to and love. In the upcoming Avengers movie, who are you excited to see? From the core Avengers. Name me one, guys. I thought Sam Wilson did a good job playing Captain America, Anthony Mackie, but guess what? I'm not excited to see him in the upcoming Avengers movie. I thought Shang-Chi was good. He's probably my favorite one so far. Looking forward to seeing because we haven't seen him in nothing. Thor. He's another one that we could possibly say we're excited to see. But outside of that, who else? There's no Black Widow, no Hawkeye, no Captain America, no Iron Man. Well, there is a Captain America, but he's not Chris Evans. He's not Steve Rogers. No characters from the Guardians of the Galaxy. I called them the Temu Avengers in this upcoming Avengers Doomsday film because that's what it feels like. Audiences really want them to start fresh, start a new reboot, and put your A-list characters first. I saw this road coming eventually with Marvel at the conclusion of Endgame. And that's the reason why I got frustrated with DC for wanting to start their own universe. And I was like, dude, run your own race. Because Marvel is going to eventually run into the problem that they're having now. But this, I know I got super off topic, but this article is literally an epiphany of what has been going on with the MCU. And it is a overall testament to the discourse that is happening with the MCU and the Marvel IP. This article literally explains that. It's like, okay, we know we've not produced good stuff, but it was because of this. Well, we're going to blame this person for doing this. This is not what I wanted to do. But yet, you can't do that because we know you greenlit. And then we're talking about Kevin Feige here. You greenlit a lot of these movies. We will give you a pass for the TV shows. But and at the end, you are the one who greenlit the movies. You show up for the red carpet stuff. So we don't want to hear nothing about Kevin Feige didn't get to sign on this and this and that. And, he was already not available. So they already produced it anyways without his final. And do I believe that y'all was releasing too much? I do. I really do. But still, even if Marvel does cut back like they did say, I wanted to say they actually stated that they're going to just only do 3 movies a year max with 2 TV shows, live action and 2 animation. But I'm telling you guys right now, given the fact that Thunderbolts is a flop, more than likely it's not as horribly a flop in comparison to Captain America Brave New World. But if Fantastic Four is not going to do, if it does not do good in the box office, Marvel needs to seriously look itself in the face with Secret Wars and start a reboot. I really think it should happen. It's a discussion that should be ongoing. I really think that Disney is part of the reason why the Marvel IP has ran into the ground. I am totally with Kevin Feige on that one. But still, I don't think there's really nothing that can save the MCU unless Avengers Doomsday absolutely blows our minds and knocks our socks off. This article is literally, I'm gonna say it again, just the icing on the cake of what us fans already knew was going on. They essentially recognize their wrongs, but at the same time, we're not falling for it. Because guess what? They're still going to continue to do the same thing that they have done in the past. I don't care what Kevin Feige or Bob Iger says. They can say that they were wrong and not putting quality over the quantity that they was the quantity that they were putting out. But I still feel in my heart and hearts at the end of the day, they're still going to continue to do what they were doing. Now, Avengers Doomsday is going to be full of fan service, and we're going to talk about that next. But I do think there is possibly a day coming where the MCU is in its last leg, is taking its last breath. I don't say that with joy. I'm not happy to say that. I love the Marvel Universe. The MCU has been the greatest thing that's ever happened to the world of pop culture, to cinema, to movie history. It's something that is historic. It is something that is nostalgic. It is something that will live on forever. But I really do think the more these movies come out, the more it is just ruining the reputation of the IP and the MCU. And it's not a major tear because I believe hardcore fans will probably say after Endgame, people will act like nothing else ever existed. But seriously, I think there may be a day where the MCU may be taking its last breath. Let me know what you guys think about all of that. I think that was probably a very lengthy portion, very good rant going on. But we are going to be going into our next topic. What did you guys think about my thoughts on this video? I wish I would have had more facts essentially to talk about when it comes to this article, but I had to basically go with what I was given the fact I wasn't able to read the article. I just had to pull stuff off Twitter, quotes that people used, and I had to just give my reaction to it. But the very next thing that we were going to talk about in the last topic we were going to talk about on the Alpha Podcast, for Avengers Doomsday specifically, Marvel is filming a epic fight scene featuring the Avengers battling the X-Men in Avengers Doomsday. The X-Men will appear in comic accurate suits. This seems to be true, given that there was teased Cyclops' comic accurate suit that is possibly going to be worn in the film. And we actually got a set leak photo of that as well. Is this probably going? I thought this was going to be the general idea when they announced the cast, because I was sitting here like, okay, either they are going together and formulating together to fight Doom, or they're going to be fighting each other. I think if this is true, I think Doctor Doom is going to be manipulating the older X-Men into fighting the new Avengers. I think that's possibly the story and the route they are going to go with. Um, am I a fan of it? I guess you can't really do no wrong. You're bringing back the old school X-Men. I'm shocked we don't see a scenario where Hugh Jackman is going to be in this movie, given everybody else has been announced. Cyclops is going to be back. Um, Nightcrawler, Magneto. Um, Jesus, I got a brain fart. I can't think of the girl. Mystique. Jesus, I don't know how I didn't think of her name. And I think that might be essentially it. So the only ones that's missing from the main X-Men is Rogue, Wolverine, Storm, and that's it from like the main cast, or Iceman. And that should be pretty much it that we're all missing. So maybe they may show up and they may or may not show up. So I don't know. Because Professor X, so Professor X and Beast joins that crew as well as people who is going to be in the film. It's not going to be the type of fight that we want to see. Obviously, we would love, us fans would love to see the idea of Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, and that whole crew going up against Chris Evans, Tony Stark, and not Robert Downey Jr. and the guys. That would be ideal. That would be the most awesome thing to see on screen. But given the fact this is probably going to be the Team of Avengers, I keep calling it the Team of Avengers because that's why they give off Team of Avengers vibes. If I was to cheer for either side to win, I'm going with the X-Men. I mean, look, I know I hate on this new Avengers team so much. I'm sorry, Chris Hemsworth. I love you so much. I'm so sorry that you got to deal with the C/B list tier characters that are on that squad. But I would be cheering for the X-Men in a heartbeat. The OG crew, Patrick Stewart, all of them. Ian McKellen. I'm rolling with you guys, 100%. I know Doom's more than likely going to be mind controlling y'all, obviously, in some way, form, or fashion, given that you're going to be fighting the Avengers. Something else that we got to think about as well. How are they going to put them in the same universe? Is there just about to be some type of multiverse type thing, given we are still in the multiverse saga? It's something that we got to think about for this to even happen. But in making this movie, this is obviously a route they're probably going to have to take. How are you going to introduce the Doctor Doom character? That's a question we got to ask. Why we just talked about how did um the X-Men show up in the same universe as these guys, given they were from 20th Century Fox? We got to figure that out as well, because we saw in Deadpool had to time jump. So is the TVA going to be involved in this film in some way, form, or fashion? I think they probably are, more than likely. So yeah, there's not really much to take away from it. We don't have really enough of information. It's just a quick little thought of what I really think of that, because I really think there are a lot of characters that are in this film that they have not told us about. I really do think characters like Spider-Man and Hulk and all them are going to be in this movie. I don't see a scenario where they're not. And there might be some X-Men that's probably going to be in this movie, like the Wolverines and Storm, and essentially everybody else that adds to that X-Men roster that have not been released yet. And Marvel did state that there are characters that are part of the movie that have not been announced yet. Avengers Doomsday is a whole year away. Not much time. We are going to know a lot more about it in the future. And essentially, if I was to cheer for a team right now, I am Team X-Men. Because, like I said, the Team of Avengers, as presently constructed. Who you got? You got Black Panther, Thor, Captain America, Scar. I don't even know, y'all. This is how depleted the Avengers are. I just don't know who's going to be in the movie. But as presently constructed right now, given who they have announced for the movie, I'm Team X-Men. Let me know Oh, and something else too, before we get into the end and the outro, they're wearing their comic accurate outfits. What I am paying right now to see Cyclops in that comic accurate outfit alongside Wolverine, Magneto. Sign me up for Team X-Men all day. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Are you guys Team Avengers? Are you going to be Team X-Men? Do you think this leak by Daniel RPK is true? Because if it is true, Doctor Doom is going to be mind manipulating them in some way, form, or fashion. And I do possibly see a scenario where they are going to be teaming up, more than likely, if they defeat the Brain Control. So let me know down below. Do you like my theory? What do you think about it? I want to hear it all down below in the comments. We have reached the end of the Alpha podcast. This is all I have written up for the day. Not much has happened. I wasn't actually going to talk about something that was revealed with Spider-Man and some casting rumors for X-Men, but I haven't really done a deep dive into the X-Men castings, and I wanted to keep that separate for possibly another video. But it turned out that the Spider-Man thing was fake as well, but it was something minor. So maybe we'll save that for the next portion of the podcast. This is some stuff that has been mixed with older news, especially the Kevin Feige stuff and this Marvel vs. X-Men thing as well. It's something old, and I just wanted to talk about it and get my 2 cents on it and enjoy talking about it and actually try out this new format that I am working out with to see if it better helps my audience and making and growing my audience. But outside of that, guys, you have reached the end of this episode of the Alpha Podcast. If you guys enjoyed, do not hesitate to hit the like button on the video. Follow it on Apple and Spotify and wherever you are watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and tap the notification bell to get notified when all of my videos go live. Look in the description as well to check out all my other videos when it pertains to the world of pop culture and sports. I thank you guys for joining me for this episode, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, love, and positivity always, y'all. See you.